started with our day. We're going to be wrapping up our knowledge of the water cycle today. You'll have one new assignment today that you'll be working on. And so I want us to make sure that we're as prepared as possible. We want to remember yesterday, as a reminder, we started learning about transpiration. Transpiration. That's that stage where plants sweat because they're so heated, they release water vapor or steam through their leaves. We also want to make sure we remember that transpiration happens at the same time as evaporation because both of those processes need heat. So let's keep going today. As we get into our lesson today, I'm going to share my screen with you. And remember, yesterday we learned about evaporation, condensation, and precipitation in that order. Evaporation happens first, condensation second, precipitation third. And where we're going to pick up on our notes today is what happens after precipitation. Runoff is our answer. When we're looking at after precipitation, when it rains, rain can either land on sidewalks, streets, or it can land in grass on vegetation. When rain runs off on sidewalks or streets, this is called surface flow runoff. Please write surface flow runoff in your notes. I do not expect you to draw that very intricate picture. You see there a gutter, a street gutter, or a street grate, and that rain is collecting there. We want to make sure we know in our notes here that surface flow runoff is when rain or snow literally land on streets or sidewalks. We'll see that there's a lot of opportunities for pollution with surface flow runoff because when that rain hits that street, it's also going to carry with it any liquids or oils or gas that have hit the street from cars that have been on it. So that surface flow runoff also is going to have a lot of chemicals running with that water that taints our water. That's the reason why you and I was never allowed to drink rain, like stick my tongue out, because the rain can sometimes have chemicals in it. It can be acid rain. And that's because the water cycle struggles with cleaning water when it has chemicals, gases, and all of those things in it. So it's important for us to know that surface flow runoff is when rain or snow, precipitation, land on our streets and sidewalks. Groundwater runoff, and you can easily draw a picture here of rain hitting grass, leaves, bushes, and plants. Groundwater runoff is when rain or snow land on and are absorbed, soaked up by, new word, vegetation. Whenever I see that word vegetation, I want to remember that Ms. Neville's talking about plants. Whenever I see that word vegetation, I want to remember that Ms. Neville is talking about plants. Please take some time to draw a picture of rain being absorbed by the ground and grass. Label that picture as groundwater runoff. And for surface flow runoff, couldn't you draw a picture of a street where water is running or rain is running onto a street and labeling that as surface flow runoff. Please take some time to finish that now, along with the definition. Ms. Neville will go on at 12:38. Okay, so let's keep going here. We also want to make sure we're remembering that let's talk about morning dew. Why do we get our feet wet if we ran outside in the grass in the early morning? That's because of something called morning dew. If you would please write what you see here in your notes. We're going to talk about morning dew today. And is morning dew an example of plant sweat or transpiration or condensation? When water is in the grass and lands on grass, what would morning dew be an example of? Well, let's think about it. Morning dew is usually seen in the morning. We also want to take some time to draw this picture. You could draw some grass with little blue droplets of water on it. So when we're talking about morning dew, it's important for us to remember some things. Use orange this time. Well, actually, I'll use red. I'm not sure you guys will be able to see my orange. Okay, so when we're talking about morning dew, it's important for us to remember that it's happening in the morning. Can someone turn on their mics and let me know? Is the morning time usually colder or warmer?
Colder.
Yeah. So it's a lot cooler in the mornings. So if it's a lot cooler in the mornings and transpiration needs heat in order to work, Would that water on the grass be an example of transpiration or condensation? The answer here would be condensation. Let's write down why that's true. We want to remember, I'll use a darker color now. We want to remember that at nighttime, the temperature drops. At nighttime, the temperature drops. So if it's cold outside, transpiration is not occurring. Actually, when it's cold outside, it kind of stops evaporation and transpiration from happening. So this drop in temperature stops that water vapor that was rising up from those plants. It stops that water vapor from rising. Remember, heat rises, cold sinks. So when that water vapor stops rising, it turns back into water droplets and falls back to the ground. So that means those droplets of water would land on the ground or grass, vegetation around us. So we want to make sure we remember here that morning dew is an example of condensation because it's cold. We want to remind ourselves that transpiration needs heat to work, and condensation happens when it's cooler or cold. So because in the morning it's colder, those cold droplets that were in the air that were rising are now falling to the ground as droplets. Okay? Please take some time to draw this picture and write down our explanation here in your notes. I promise you'll need it later on. Miss Neville will go on in 5 minutes at 12:47. let's give you about 3 more minutes to finish writing this down and drawing this picture. And you want to label that picture as morning dew. About 2 minutes left. Okay, guys, so let's keep going. So the next question and the last question that we have in our live session for today is, would transpiration occur during evaporation? Yes or no? I want to take a poll. I want you to turn on your mics and say yes if you think transpiration, plant sweat, happens during evaporation. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Now turn off your mic.
Yes.
If you don't think transpiration happens during at the same time as evaporation, turn on your mic and say no. Okay, you're correct. Very good. Yes, it does happen at the same time as evaporation. I did want to help you to know that word occur. Whenever I see that word occur, it just means happen. Okay? So if we didn't know what occurs meant, it means happen. Okay? So yes, it does happen at the same time as evaporation, because both evaporation and transpiration require heat to work. Uh-oh. My board went crazy. So they happen at the same time. All you'll need to, you should have already drawn that picture. All you need to write down here are the questions in black and what Miss Neville's written down in green. And I'll give you a minute before I stop sharing this screen. Remember, this lesson is being recorded. So if I go too fast for you, it's okay. You'll be able to finish your notes. I'm going to show you what your assignment is for today that you need to be completing, okay? And then we'll talk about tomorrow's class. So when we're talking about